hold it up because the kids are going to need this.
Is it electronic anyways?
It didn't seem to be a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah, I
Right.
think most kids are going to look at it electronically
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's online.
Yeah.
Oh, all
Okay.
right.
So I think we're all set. All right, so we'll
We'll accept it and just.
yeah, we can discuss tonight and then hold,
Okay.
do a quick meeting at some point when it's amenable for people
Yeah.
to take care of it.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Ellen.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. We all good to go?
Do we have an extra chair for somebody in between you guys?
Yeah, this showed up at some point.
Usually over here.
The ghost chair.
All right, calling this meeting, the Woburn School Committee to order. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The superintendent, please call the roll.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Ms. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Mulrennan. Ms. Watson.
Present.
Mr. Lipson.
Present. All right, we have approval of a number of school committee minutes from the months of May and June.
Motion to approve minutes of 5/20/24, 5/23/24, 6/3/24, 6/5/24, and 6/11/24.
523, 24.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The ayes take it. I want to recognize our city council liaison. I also want to recognize the mayor of Woburn, Mr. Michael Kincannon. Thank you for coming. Mr. Viola, do you have any comments for us?
No comments tonight.
That brings us to public comment. I know the mayor wanted to say a couple words.
Fight back the crowds.
Good evening. I'll be quick. I know you have a lengthy agenda tonight. Really just wanted to come by and say thank you and congratulations on a successful school year. I know this has been a particularly trying one. We look back a year ago, and I don't think a lot of what has happened could have been predicted. We had an eventful year. I know that right at the beginning of the school year, just before classes resumed, we had to deal with an issue of new coming students, and the school department, school committee, school administration, and the entire team scrambled and made it happen. And I think made it a pleasant experience for all involved, and that was not an easy task, I know that. And then things got more hectic from there on out. And I know that at the time when we started the school year, we were still reeling somewhat from some bit of negativity that had fallen over the district. And I know that everybody worked hard to try to reinvigorate the vibe and to create a positive environment, and I appreciate those efforts as well. And then as we went into the middle of the year, it was a new administration and a new approach to the budget preparation. And I've said it before, and I wanted to come by and say it again tonight, that I very much appreciate the collaborative effort. I can tell you that I learned a lot through this process. I had been on the council for 10 years, had been the liaison to this committee for most of those years. Thought I had a pretty good handle on how the budget in the school department was comprised. And I learned a lot through this process, and I appreciate that. And I think that's going to make me, allow me to do my job better as we go forward. And I know that there was a lot of effort put in on behalf of the school side. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that I appreciate that very much. And then I know that the year did not settle down at all through the springtime. This committee had to deal with the long simmering issue of redistricting. And although it didn't play out exactly the way we may have anticipated, I know that was not for a lack of effort, sincere effort, trying to do the right thing and make it happen. Probably was for the best to regroup, given the timing and the uncertainty. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that I appreciated that as well. And as we wrapped up the year, we had another successful graduation. We sent approximately 300 students out into the world, very much prepared. And that's a credit to this committee, this administration, the teachers, the staff, everybody involved. We should all be very proud of that class. I know they're going to do great things. So at this, what I believe to be perhaps your last school committee meeting of the year, I just wanted to come by and, again, congratulate you and thank you very much for the collaborative effort. And I look forward to, hopefully for you all, a bit of a break where you can recharge your batteries and get ready for the beginning of the next school, which will be here, school year, will be here before we know it. But there are at least a few weeks where you can catch your breath. And I look forward to working with you again on a smooth opening and another successful school year. I look forward to more of our visits, Dr. Crowley. I found them very informative, and I want to continue those. And again, I just wanted to say great job and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the words, kind words of support.
Thank you.
And thank you for your collaboration as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any other member of the public who wishes to address the committee tonight? Seeing no one. That brings us to reports of the superintendent and staff. Dr. Crowley.
So the first item is a resolution of affirmation of support for LGBTQ+ students and staff that was brought to the SSA subcommittee meeting by Ms. Wetzel, and so I'll turn it to her to provide the update.
Sure, thank you. So yes, this was brought forward to the Student Services and Achievement Subcommittee. So I just wanted to thank them, first of all. So that includes Ms. Chisholm, Ms. Crowley, Dr. Crowley, Ms. Young, and Ms. Ryan, as well as CPAC President Ms. Cotton. And we had special advisement from Ms. Polart Ramus, who is the Spectrum Club advisor and high school teacher, who gave us some ideas on language and things that we should include in this resolution. And it initially was actually brought forward by a community member. So Ms. Rena Razor brought it forward as she wanted to make sure we're keeping these vulnerable populations in our minds as we're moving through the school year, because LGBTQ plus students and staff both face higher rates of discrimination, bullying, higher rates of suicide and depression. And it's important that they have more support inside of our schools. So on a high level, this resolution includes, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll include the parts that we're looking at implementing in our schools. So we're going to strive to provide adequate funding for LGBTQ plus awareness and anti-bullying training for both staff and students. Strive to provide for safe bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing spaces for transgender and gender nonconforming staff and students. Strive to strengthen counseling and mental health services for LGBTQ plus students. Strive to champion student clubs that support gender and sexuality alliances inside our schools. So this is kind of what we've come up with inside of the subcommittee as a group, and we wanted to bring that forward to the full committee, and I did email the committee this on Friday for you to review, and it's inside of your packets as well. So if anyone has questions or comments, I would love to hear those. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wetzel. Any questions for Ms. Wetzel on this resolution?
Make a motion to approve it?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of adopting the resolution as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that vote is unanimous. And I just want to take a moment to thank Ms. Wetzel and the entire SSA subcommittee, as well as our community who talked about the importance of this resolution. This is a really critical resolution for our students and for our staff. So thank you for all the hard work in putting this forward, bringing it to us tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Next on the agenda is the Reeves leadership team. So if Matt and Michelle can come on down. We don't have walk-up music or anything. So, they are I'll be the walk-up music. Just about a year ago, we had an opening at the Reeves. Matt was the assistant principal at the time, and so jumped into the role of principal, and last summer hired Michelle to be the interim assistant principal. To say that the partnership has worked out well is an understatement. The community feedback has been terrific. Staff are very much in support, and so it's a great opportunity for them to talk a little bit about their success, explain why he's carrying an oar, and answer any questions that you might have. So I'll turn it to you.
Well, first, we'll change it to we are carrying the oar. very excited to be the leadership team moving forward for the Reeves. It was a very successful year in our eyes, and from the surveys and what we've heard from staff and families, we're just happy that people want to stick around, and we're honored to do that. So at the beginning of the year, we had a lot of turnover and a lot of change, obviously with us sitting here today, and we wanted the staff to really come together as a community, and we wanted that to be an unofficial goal of our school, really work on collaboration, making sure that ECP all the way to 5 really just comes together as the Reeves, just one building. So we thought about rowing and about the sport of crew and how every oar has to hit the water at the same time. And it's one of those sports that if just one person is not rowing with the team, the whole boat will tip over. So we pitched it to the staff. We didn't force anyone to sign it. But at the end of our first staff meeting, we had the staff sign the oar as a way of being a part of the team, Team Reeves. And anyone who joined our team along the way, we had the oar taken down, we signed it, and just very happy to have an amazing co-captain for the rowing of the Reeves.
Awesome. Good job.
Michelle, do you want to just talk? Are resumes in here? Maybe not,
No.
right? So can you just give a little background about what you did prior to?
So I'm Michelle Kelly. This is my 19th year in public education. I did take 2 years off after having my daughter, so I have 3 children at home, elementary and middle school. We live close by in Wakefield. I started, like a lot of teachers in Woburn. I grew up in Revere. I went back to the community that made me want to become a teacher, and I spent 14 years there in different capacities. I started off in early childhood, moved into elementary, teaching 2nd grade, and then when I decided I wanted to go the leadership route, there was an opportunity to become a reading coach. So I moved buildings to a K-5, where I was a reading coach and really got to see what it's like to be outside of the classroom. And then after that, like I said, I took 2 years off to stay home to raise my younger children, but I really missed being in a school. I didn't realize how much I would miss it, and I had the opportunity to kind of go back in a leadership role in Winchester for part-time, so that was perfect for my family at the time that was still much younger. And then just as my children got older, I was ready to be somewhere more in a full-time capacity. So I ended up finding a great place here in Woburn, and I really love developing relationships this year with families, students, staff, and as Matt said, I think we're a really great team, and we love working for the community.
Thank you.
Any questions for our Reeves leadership team? Ms. Watson?
I just wanted to say, as a Reeves parent of a preschooler, thank you for all the hard work that you do. It really shows every day, welcoming students as they're arriving in families, as well as the s'mores updates you send, which are fantastic, and I really think it keeps the community informed as well as aware of what's going on. And also thank you, too, for including our school committee updates in your s'mores newsletters as well, as it's just another great way to reach the community. So thank you.
Ms. Crowley?
Welcome to Woburn. Matt, not you, because you've already been here.
I mean, you too.
I'm really excited to hear the background in reading, Ms. Kelly, because we in Woburn are, launching a literacy initiative. So it's exciting to have you here. I really wanted to say thank you to you, Mr. Cominance. During the redistricting situation, the elementary school principals really showed a lot of leadership and support and came to us with just some really good education planning and child-centered initiatives. So I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, as our staff will share with our many boat jokes and everything along the way, definitely had some rough waves there for a little bit. But,
Yes.
I mean, everyone in this room, we're all in the boat together. So,
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for everyone.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. And we, have to start again at some point. So thank you.
Additional.
Great. Have an awesome summer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Not bad.
Yeah. The next agenda item is the Alta Vista Principal Dr. Linda Riley, an introduction of Assistant Principal Steve Gallo. So Steve is here. So again, there's no music. Come on up.
Come on down.
More music next time.
Dr. Riley is actually doing her other job. She's leaving us to be a professor at UMass Lowell, teaching grad students, doctoral students in public education, and so she's actually teaching tonight, so can't be here. And feels bad about that, of course, but that being said, Steve Gallo has been in the Woburn Public Schools for a few years. He can speak to his own resume. He's quite accomplished, a long time public educator. He's finishing this year as the assistant principal at the Goodyear Elementary School, and is, I think, going to do a great job at the Alta Vista, and has been up there working, with Linda in the transition. So hopefully that's a seamless transition. I know you were there scouting out with the SOAR program and took the bus with the kids and all of those things. So, so Steve.
Hi, everybody. I'm absolutely thrilled for this opportunity to lead the Alta Vista. Talking about myself, I guess, a little bit. I'll try and be really quick. I'm going into my 27th year in education. I am originally from Rhode Island. Quick background, my mom and dad were both educators. My mom is a retired superintendent. My dad was a Spanish teacher forever, and deacon as well. My brother is a headmaster in Providence, and my sister is also a teacher as well. And then there's me. After I graduated college from Rhode Island College, and my first job was a first grade teaching position in Boston at the Boston Renaissance Charter School. It was a high rise right across the street from the Park Plaza Hotel. I was on the 8th floor, 26 kids. We didn't have any playground, we didn't have a gym, we didn't have a cafeteria. Everything was in the classroom. So that's where your day started, that's where it ended. 26 kids up in the elevator, 26 kids down. It was pretty crazy. And then for those 3 years I looped. I went to second grade and then third grade with them. And it was an awesome experience. Loved it. But then I transitioned out of the charter school to Lawrence, where I taught 4th grade. I can't remember now. I think it was about 8 years. And I became lead teacher over there. And that's when I started becoming very interested in administration. I just felt like I could have a much more significant positive impact on a greater number of students by supporting, more teachers, not just the ones on my team. So that's really kind of what got me into it. And then Lawrence went through a tough time where they, went under receivership. And that was hard for a lot of people. I was lucky. I had a chance to move to a different school. I did. And that's where I became a math coach. And during that time as math coach, I also taught 3rd grade. And then from there, I applied for an assistant principal position in Marblehead. I was an assistant principal at the village school for 5 years. And it was a 4 to 6 school, 760 kids. It was a great experience. Very different. We had 10 and 11 classrooms. We had 10 classrooms in 4th grade, 11 in 5th, and then 10 in 6th. And it was hard to get used to, but it was a great experience. And then things, started to change a little bit, and I decided to apply to Woburn. Again, extremely lucky to land here. Couldn't be happier. I love the Goodyear community. The kids are fantastic. Parents are wonderful. Great experience working with Ken Casares, the principal there. He's taught me a lot about Woburn, a lot about the people. He knows everybody, every place, every restaurant, you name it, he knows it. Dr. Crowley has been honestly amazingly supportive, which I truly appreciate. Means a lot. Courtney and Maureen are fantastic. I know I can always go to them with anything. Matt, Michelle, the whole team of administrators, they're open to questions and willing to help out whenever needed. So I know I'm in good hands. I'm ready to go. This is going to be a great experience, and that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gallo? Ms. Watson?
I was just going to say, as you were talking, I think my mouth dropped open several times as you were telling me some of the experiences you've had. So I think You bring a ton of knowledge and unique experiences that you can bring to the Alta Vista. And of course, we'll miss seeing you at the Goodyear, but they're very lucky to have you.
Thank
so
you very
thank
much.
you.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Chisholm.
Well, I just hope that Kenny told you about North Woburn, because I'm sure all his food was headed to East Woburn. You have to kind of go over the bridge and come to North Woburn, so.
I will tell you, I'm figuring out the ways I can get home now,
Yeah.
and it's becoming a little bit easier.
There you go. Well, I welcome you to North Woburn.
Thank you.
I thought you went under the bridge.
Yeah. Well, you have to go over the pass.
Okay.
That's. You can't send the kids under. That's the problem. Can't go under the bridge. Got to keep the kids on one side, and the kids on the other side.
Anything further from Mr. Gallo?
Rest up.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you too now.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Next on the agenda is the Woburn Memorial High School Handbook, and with us tonight is the principal, Dan Rassinen. So we did send a digital copy this afternoon. You have a hard copy in your packet. Mr. Rassinen can speak to the process that was used to kind of arrive at this point. It wasn't just done by him independently. It was vetted through a variety of different people, and so if you want to talk about the process and some of the more significant changes, that would be probably a good place to start. So,
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again. So the process for the handbook now, our TLT was involved in getting feedback in a few different domains of the handbook, specifically around the code of conduct and the code of discipline and the way it's laid out, because I wanted to make sure that this is something useful and that what's in the handbook is actually happening. So a lot of the things that are different in this version of the handbook compared to what was previously there, which I think is still on the website, the changes aren't very material, but the way that things are structured looks different. And a lot of the changes incorporate DESE's focus on alternatives to suspension, whereas updates I think have been a long time coming, where suspension was, I think, the first option, where now it's the last. So those changes have been incorporated, but I asked our TLT to reach out to teachers and just get some feedback on the way that they wanted it to look and what they wanted it to be reflective of. And a lot of the feedback I got was, they didn't really have a strong opinion as long as it was enforced consistently, which I think was valuable feedback. And so the structure of infractions and consequences and restoration looks a little bit different. And the other piece that looks different is the dress code, which is the new policy is in there, and a lot of the language around attendance is streamlined. But there aren't really incredibly significant material changes. It's just, I think, providing more clarity and getting feedback on making sure that this is a useful document and that kids and families and teachers are going to have it and use it and be able to refer to it and say, this is actually what we're doing. The comment on like Saturday school, like Saturday school's been in there for a long time, and I found out early in my tenure that we didn't actually have Saturday school, that it was in the handbook. But Saturday community service is something that I'm hoping to bring back, depending on availability, but through the lens of an alternative to suspension, because it's a good option for kids. And we have a lot of different things going on at the high school that we could use as a vehicle for restorative measures, for kids to be involved in the community before we get to suspension. And using that as an example, I think, is the direction that we go when we look at some of the changes that are made here.
Any questions for Mr. Rassman regarding the handbook? Mrs. Chisholm.
Well, I spoke to you earlier. If you could just send us some of the things that you did change, like the dress code, attendance, the suspension that in here, is something that we should pay attention to, because it just, voting on something that I haven't read makes me a little bit nervous. And I just don't think that's professional. So we can, approve it on as far as we get to do this again and make sure it's done, and we all agree with what's in here. And I'm sure the hard work has been done, and people that are in the building know more than we do sitting here at the table. So I just want to make sure that we are covered.
Yeah, that's fair. And logistically, it's not a heavy lift for us to get this in people's hands.
Okay.
It'll be posted on the website, and it'll be digitally accessed.
Okay.
And there aren't, we're not fundamentally changing policy here. It's more about just making sure it's a usable document. And
correct.
We're also not violating DESI regulations by saying we're going to suspend everybody all the time for sneezing wrong.
Right.
So some of that stuff is cleaned up, but there aren't really fundamental policy changes. It's more about just streamlining language, clarifying things, and making sure it's usable. But I can definitely get you changes, and
Okay. That'd be great.
we can get it translated and get it posted. Make sure it's accessible to everybody.
Is there anything further? Okay. So I think what we may do is, and I guess I would accept a motion on this, but delay a vote on the handbook for tonight and potentially schedule a quick meeting within the next couple of weeks to address it.
I would like to make a vote that we approve the handbook as presented at this time.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the handbook as presented.
Second?
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion on that motion? Mrs. Chisholm?
I just think that it's inappropriate to vote on something we have not read. And getting this at 6:45, I didn't have time to read all of this, but if someone feels that they can prove something that they have not gone through with a fine-tooth comb, so be it. But I just think it would be negligent of us to do that. So it's been a work in progress, and I'm sure that it's been, reviewed a number of times. But again, this is our vote, so be it.
Okay. Ms. Cormier?
Just to be clear, I did review this when Dr. Crowley sent it at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I feel comfortable voting at this time.
Anything further on that? Okay. So the motion on the floor is to adopt the handbook as written, as presented to the committee. All in favor? Actually, I guess we'll do a roll call on it.
Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Ms. Chisholm?
No.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes.
Ms. Wetzel?
Oh, no, Mr. Mulrennan.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Moreno?
I mean, I'm happy to go.
I'm keeping tally.
Wait a minute.
I'm keeping tally and trying to read at the same time.
It's a long night.
It's the end of the year, right?
That's tough tonight.
Yeah, Ms. Wetzel
No.
and Mr. Lipset.
Yes.
5-2.
All right. So the handbook is approved. Thank you for your work on this. Please pass our thanks along as well to the TLT and to the staff whose input was invaluable in the process. Appreciate it.
Would you please send the changes to me? I would like to review them.
Yeah, if you could send that to the committee as whole or through Dr.
Or so-
Crowley, that would be
yeah.
It's
great.
been
Thank you.
reviewed, so.
And can we just, when it is posted, can you just send us an update? Just, I know specifically Diane Simto was asking as far as the gun resolution.
It's in here.
It's in there, and she wants to see it on the website when it's ready. So I told her I would let her know when that does get posted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Dan.
And that brings us to the building committee and the vote on the Wyman.
Would you like me to go now?
Please.
Okay. So as this committee knows, the mayor and the school committee and the city council are working jointly through a building and capital planning committee with folks from the community to look at the feasibility study in depth. And one of the things that the building committee is looking at is the future use of the old Wyman schoolhouse that's located on Main Street. I'm just going to name the people on the building committee. So bear with me. All right, we have Ellen Crowley, Lou DeMambro, Joe Demers, Christy Nickerson, Pat Chisholm, Courtney Young, Maureen Ryan, Lenny Burnham, David Dunkley, Matt Crowley, John Curran, Mark Kavicki, Brandon Etheridge, Charlie Doherty, Kate Martin, Jen Young. Are the people on the committee. Okay. So one of the things, like I said, that we had brought to the table was the future use of the Wyman School. We did 3 things to look at the Wyman. First, we read the feasibility study and talked about it in discussion in March of 2024. Then in April, the committee took a field trip to the Wyman School to look at the current condition of it and to get a feel for its condition. And then thirdly, on May 15th, the committee convened to hear from Donna Danisco to ask her questions about the future use of the Wyman. And it was the opinion of the committee that the Wyman is no longer useful for the school committee for education purposes. That specifically Donna Danisco said that the best thing to happen for this building, for the community, is to sell it wholesale and try to get the best price for it because it is a beautiful building. Several members of the committee were talking about how to sell it and all of those things, but none of that is under the jurisdiction of the building committee. Our goal was simply to talk about whether or not the committee still uses it. I also sent for your information the part of the feasibility study that deals directly with the Wyman, and so you read it for this motion, obviously, that it's really in poor condition. And people have asked, well, why don't you use it for the early childhood program? And the response from the building committee is that it really only has 8 classrooms, so it really would not render any use. And that's the new part, which we still call it the new part, even though it's not new. And then the old part is just completely not useful at all. So based on that, Joe Demers, who's the counselor for Ward 4, where the old Wyman sits, made a motion that the building committee recommend to the full school committee that the old Wyman School is no longer useful for education purposes. And that the school committee, it was the motion, sorry, I'm going to get the exact words.
Mr.
Make a, I'm sorry?
There was Mr. Demers mentioned.
Yeah, let me just get the exact.
Towards the bottom of page 3.
Thank you. Okay. Joe Demers made a motion to make the recommendation to the school committee that the Wyman School is no longer useful as a school building and is no longer used for education purposes and cannot be made useful for education purposes without prohibitive cost to the Woburn taxpayers. That motion was seconded, and the motion passed unanimously by the building committee. So for this committee, I will make a motion that by recommendation of the Building and Capital Planning Committee, duly organized by the chair of the school committee, the mayor of Woburn, and the city council, that the school committee, pursuant to our authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16, that the Wyman School located on Main Street is no longer used for education purposes.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will make a second motion that the school committee advise the city, through our correspondence from the chair to the city council and the mayor of Woburn, that any future sale of the building formerly designated as a schoolhouse, formerly named the Wyman School, that said proceeds should be used for the benefit of the students of the Woburn Public Schools.
Okay.
Second.
On that. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So both of those motions carry unanimously. Thank you to the building committee for your hard work on this and hard work all around. And so I will be communicating with the mayor and with city council. Mayor and a representative of the city council are in attendance tonight, so we sort of are doing that, but I will send a formal communication as well to that effect. So thank you very much for that. All right, and that brings us to our final agenda item for tonight. That is policy updates. Ms. Cormier.
Yes, so we left off with JICA, dress code policy, was tabled and discussed. Last discussion was May 6th, and so I will put that forward for a vote I make a motion that it be adopted as written.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second, sorry. I nodded.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on policy JICA? Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. Dress code policy. Ms. Chisholm.
My only comment would be that I'm going to vote against it only because I just think that we're doing a disservice to kids when we allow them to wear pajamas to school. And it's just, it goes against everything as a parent that I would teach my kids to do, so. But other than that, I think it's okay, but just for a standing point, will be a no on that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, all in favor of adopting policy? Let's do a roll call.
Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Ms. Chisholm?
No.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Morenon?
Yes.
Ms. Wetzel?
Yes.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes. All right, that motion carries 6-1.
And the second item is from the Wellness Committee. We have, in conjunction with the nurse leader, manager, I don't know what she is.
Yeah.
Sarah Lee.
Sarah Lee, nurse coordinator.
Nurse coordinator,
Yeah.
who actually went through this process in Arlington. So she had a lot of experience with updating and creating wellness policies and also running through with the Wellness Committee. So as I sent to the committee earlier this week, I'm going to make a motion to table the ADF wellness policy as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on tabling that policy? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is unanimous. All right, is that it for policy?
That's it for policy.
All right, that moves us into subcommittee reports, finance and personnel. Mrs. Chisholm.
We did meet on 6/21 at 12 o'clock here at the Joyce Middle School with Superintendent Matt Crowley and Assistant Director of Finance Patty McKinnon and school committee members James Austin and myself. The updates were given by the superintendent, the Director of Technology, as we know, Jen Junkins, has accepted a position in another school system, and her last day will be August 23rd. Resumes have been received, and interviews are scheduled still
Tomorrow,
June 27th, okay. And Superintendent Crowley requested we change the role of Sarah Swift in the technology to Assistant Director. We were presented with a new job description, and this will take some of the responsibility from the new incoming director, hopefully freeing that person to enable more time for them to provide more PD opportunities for our staff and students. This will increase Sarah's salary to $115, but this can be absorbed in our budget because the savings from Jen Junkins' salary will be budgeted to the new hire salary. So it should be a wash, and we should be okay with that. Motion was made and seconded and sent for a favorable recommendation to the full committee. So we will need to vote on approving the new position and the increase in salary. The hiring process is underway, and we have 70 positions posted, and they are posted through Talent Ed. Leadership meeting was going to be held to review the list of positions to ensure that all the positions are needed and are moving forward. The principals review the applications and interview the candidates, and after they're interviewed, they send a favorable recommendation to the superintendent. HR Director Tony Wyman has in place electronic version of the candidates to receive their welcome packet, so they don't need to come in and sit with a pen and paper in the little room and fill it all out anymore. We're getting into the new year. So the advertisement for paras will be held later in the summer, because there are some movements with paras to maybe taking other positions. And then we were asked on questions on the new resource officer at WMHS, who has been hired and will start in August. I don't know if that's public information that you wanted to announce her name, or if that's something we'll do later.
I don't know if it's, maybe.
I mean, I know her name, but I don't know if you wanted me to.
You could say her name.
Yeah,
sure.
okay, Sandra
Yeah,
Lawton has
yeah.
accepted the position, and
She's a new
she's wanted
SRO.
that position since she was probably fifth grade. So department head positions are all been filled. The supervisor attendance started this year, that will be coming in the fall because we haven't met the new one, so that would be nice. And if we can get a report at that time too.
Sure.
It would be great. And we adjourned at 12:45.
Thank you very much. Questions for finance and personnel? Ms. Cormier.
We didn't receive the updated job description for Ms. Swift. If that should be in the attachments, but can we get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a quick clarification question regarding the salaries. Is it a complete wash in terms of totals, or is there some
Not until we do the new hire.
There'll be a savings
Okay.
probably, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm just going to add, there was a future agenda item. that you brought up right at the end there, something we were going to...
Oh, we have to vote on the new position of the,
No, I'm sorry, I'm just adding the school attendance officer
Yeah,
for
right.
September. Yeah.
for
Okay.
next year, please.
So yes, we do have to approve the new position.
Correct.
The Assistant Director of IT.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve that?
Yes.
Okay. And do I have a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. And that's it for finance.
Thank you for that.
And please congratulate Ms. Swift. And that brings us to resources and capital planning.
All right, hi again. Resources and Capital Planning met on June 21st at 8 a.m. Present was myself, Michael Mulrennan, Jesse Wetzel, Andrew Lipsett was observing, Dr. Matt Crowley, and Lennon Burnham, Director of Facilities. The first topic was the formation of the Early Childhood Program Task Force. As you know, members, that was referred to the Resource Subcommittee by the chair at the last meeting. Dr. Crowley shared that it was a really good idea to establish this stakeholder group, given the fact that the ECP issue is quite urgent. Jesse Wetzel and both myself noted that we'd heard from members of the community that were interested in this. So the subcommittee discussed the goal of the ECP is to gain more stakeholder participation in the review of the early childhood program space capacity issue, and the subcommittee expects the task force to innovate solutions, facilitate discussion, and come up with recommendations. Participation of the task force for your approval could be leadership staff of the Woburn Public Schools, teachers, paraprofessionals, related service providers that work with our earliest learners, director of the early childhood program, school committee and city representation, and of course, Woburn Teachers Association leadership. That's who we are recommending is to form this on this committee. As for a school committee member, the Resources Subcommittee is nominating to the chair Jesse Wetzel, who is actually a direct stakeholder, parent, and school committee member. The ECP task force will have full autonomy in making suggestions to the administration and school committee about the early childhood program, and maybe can answer these questions. What is the best way that Woburn Public Schools can alleviate the space issues associated with the early childhood program, which renders the best results for education achievement for our youngest learners? And are there any non-build options that the city and school committee could explore, given the expense related to building new programs? So I'll make that motion that the full committee accept the recommendations of the Resources Subcommittee in this regard.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on those recommendations or that motion? Okay. All in favor of accepting the recommendations? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And hopefully you'll consider Jesse.
That's going to be a tough
I
one.
have given it a great deal of thought, and yes, I'm happy to appoint Ms. Wetzel as the school committee representative to the Early Childhood Task Force, assuming that you are willing to accept that.
I accept and thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, and I will further reach out to city leadership, again, in writing, to discuss a city representative for that task force.
That'll be different letters, not the same letter.
It will be a different letter, I promise.
2 letters.
Okay.
So many letters.
I'm
sorry.
happy to write them.
Okay.
All right, unless there's anything further for resources. Oh, wait, there's plenty
Yes.
further for resources.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just have two more topics. As for redistricting, yes, redistricting. The city has provided the administration with updated maps, and the administration will forward them to McKibben when the time is right to reinitiate that. But as for that, it's completely paused until further notice. But we did talk about how redistricting 2.0, or Part 2, will be, the first discussion really laid the groundwork for it. So it was really helpful to get it out to the community in a transparent way. So the next topic was the merging of school resources and city resources. The school committee wants to keep this topic alive, as it was important in the mayor's administration. But Director Burnham was able to share some good progress that he's made in coordinating services between the city and the school department. For instance, he reached out to DPW for a project regarding asphalt repaving at the Alta Vesta. So he feels that he's going to be able to provide the school committee with ongoing updates about alleviating some of the redundancies between the city and the school department under the advice of the mayor. But the school committee did review the minutes from the mayor's presentation on May 3rd, and we've come to the conclusion that it seems that the reorganization of the city government based on Chapter 7137M really has to start on the city side, that it's something that needs to be more teased out and proposed to us based on a vote of the city council. Because we looked at Braintree, took a reorganization, it took about 3 to 4 years, and also involved impact bargaining and things of that nature. So we'll just wait to hear from the city about that. Other updates from Director Burnham, he's prioritizing man traps in the school district. The roof at the Shamrock remains a major issue, but they were able to patch it for the upcoming school year. The concerned about the state of the playground at the Malcolm White wanted us to know that he's looking into that really seriously. And he met with Principal Nickerson to look at the Malcolm White. And he basically is just looking at the feasibility study and drafting his priorities based on that. And of course, if he hears anyone from the community addresses any of us about any conditions, he would be happy to hear that from us and collaborate with the school committee. And then we adjourned.
Thank you very much. Any questions for resources? Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Crowley, and thank you, Mrs. Chisholm, for your minutes as well. Okay, that brings us to correspondence. So I did receive a thank you from the Kennedy Middle School for their Washington, D.C. trip. So thank you to the Kennedy Middle School for that card. We did receive a number of communications since our last meeting. There was a communication regarding classroom size at the Reeves for the 5th grade. We received a petition regarding cell phone policy from high school staff. In consultation with Dr. Crowley, I think what I'd like to do is have policy take a look at how we might further that conversation, not necessarily draft a policy yourselves, but think about how we might invite stakeholders in to have a longer conversation about how we might address concerns regarding cell phones in the classroom, whether that requires a policy or how to move forward with that. So I'll ask policy to sort of start talking about that as we move forward, through the summer and into the next school year.
Right.
We don't want to rush into anything, and want to make sure that we have buy-in from various stakeholders.
And as you had mentioned, it is in the handbooks, including the high school handbook we were given tonight, as far as what is allowed. But I think the question was enforcement, so we'll also discuss that with the leadership.
Thank you. Let's see. We had communication from Caitlin Skinner regarding class size differences at various elementary schools. A correspondence regarding alternate means to redistrict from Ben Pershouse. Communication regarding the movement of SOAR to the Alta Vesta from Michelle Farrakane. A email from Melissa Newell regarding the lack of a DC trip at the Joyce Middle School. We also had a communication from Ms. Rachel Kuberry. It was more a request for documentation from tonight's meeting, but as it is something that we have discussed in the past, I'd like to ask the Community Relations Subcommittee to take a look possibly over the summer at how we might do a better job of making school committee documentation available to the public and potentially to the committee in a timely fashion, in an accessible fashion, so that the community, especially for folks who aren't able to make it to the school committee room, who are watching us at home, might be able to access some of the documents that we're discussing. Mr. Ostrom, I'd like to sort of kick that to your subcommittee to take a look at, if possible, over the summer, so that we can maybe think about implementing stuff for September.
Sure, I'm excited to do that.
Absolutely, thank you. And then finally, that's actually all for correspondence. So, future agenda items, we do still have a few things left over. We do need to bring Maura Embler back in to reappoint her to the rec department. We will do that in the fall. Let's Let's see. Mr. Mulrennan mentioned the track team. We'll try to have them in the fall as well. And the school attendance officer. Any other future agenda items?
Good Friday.
We'll bring that up as well.
And I had written down the, is it the interim assistant principal at the Goodyear? Were we going to have that?
I don't think that position's been hired.
That search is ongoing.
So for future,
Yeah.
future agenda items, maybe, I don't know, if September, I think maybe that was the
Yeah,
idea.
potentially we can do that. Okay.
And Ms. Wetzel has a
I
question.
have one more. if
Yes.
I could. Invite the Spectrum Club sometime at the beginning of the school year.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay.
And then I just, if we can bring in Sandra Lawton and
Yeah.
as a new resource officer, so
I will add that. So, thank you.
maybe we can have Eddie Fumacello come with him so we can say thank you for your 18 years of service to us.
All right. I will make a note of that. Thank you. Just note, Officer Fuzel was unable to join us. But
Yeah,
thank you.
he's already traveling.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Anything further on future agenda items? No? Okay. So we do have executive session tonight, so thank you everyone for coming.